WWL, Bobby Hebert, the Saints are stuck in limbo as they approach home stretch of season. Is it the case? Kind of, sort of. I can see what he's saying. Let's listen to the Cajun Cannon and see what he means.
What a Big John from Mid-City. Big John, you're the huddle with Bobby and Mike.
Guys, I've been a broken record since the Green Bay game, and each loss has only affirmed my belief that Dennis Allen just cannot be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
Each loss? Do you mean the abundance of losses he's had his entire coaching career? Do you mean the fact that he's been a loser? No hate. Everywhere that he's gone? Do you mean that the fact that every year, every chance he gets, he does the same thing? Lose. Dennis Allen's not a head coach. Bottom line. And that's not even, look, it's not a bad thing. I'm not a railroad conductor. I'm not a Michelin star chef. I'm not a dolphin. I'm not a giraffe. I'm not a Martian from a different planet. There's just certain things you aren't, right? Saying you aren't those things isn't a disgrace, right? If someone told me, hey man, you're not a pediatric brain surgeon, I wouldn't say, well, hold on there, you SOB. How dare you say something like that to me? I would say, I agree with you, young man. Or in this situation, Big John Stud. I agree with you, Big John Stud. I'm not a pediatric brain surgeon. You are correct. And I would go about my merry day. That's how Dennis Allen should feel when I say, you aren't a head coach. Because he shouldn't be surprised, right? He shouldn't be sitting there looking at me like, why would you say such a thing? His record tells you that. Watching him, in-game adjustments or lack thereof, all of that tells you that. He's not a head coach. And then next to him, wearing the big red clown shoes and the clown nose, juggling, riding a unicycle, is Pete Carmichael. And guess what? He ain't an offensive coordinator. Now, you may be sitting there saying, well, hold on, James. How is he not an offensive coordinator? He's been the Saints offensive coordinator for 20 years. That part is still a riddle. How has he been employed for almost 20 years?
When Monday, January the 8th comes about, because I do not see the Saints going to Tampa this Sunday and beating this current Buccaneers team. And, of course, Carolina's not going to beat Tampa the following weekend, and that'll be the end of it. But what I saw on Thursday night, guys, was just, a reflection of one thing and one thing only, and that's coaching.
Yes, but, Big John, the Rams game should not have been, the icing on the cake. Every single week, it's the same story. Every single week. It'd be like reading every Harry Potter book. And then at the end of each book saying, you know what? Now that I've read 7 of these books, now that I've read thousands of pages, I'm starting to think Voldemort's kind of a bad guy. You don't need the whole 7 books to figure that out, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need the entire season to figure out that Dennis Allen can't coach. You don't need the Rams game, 16 games in or 15 games in, whatever it is. You don't need the Rams game to deduct that Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael and the coaching staff can't do it. They can't game plan. They can't scheme. How many times have I said it on this very station? How many times have I said it? We haven't scored a touchdown on the opening possession all season long. That is indicative of one thing and one thing only. Pete Carmichael, Dennis Allen, lack of game planning. Every single week along that step. When we were 0-4 and scoring a touchdown on the first possession, we could have said, man, we haven't scored a touchdown on any of the first 4 possessions of the season. This is kind of problematic. And we could have kept saying it over and over and over and over. I'm not surprised right now. I know what we need to do. I understand. And listen, we got 2 games left, okay? I'm saying it right now. Tune in on New Year's Eve because I'm going to say it in my game recap against the Bucs when we lose. Tune in the 7 days later whenever actually it'll be 8 days because I'll be in the Dome. Tune in after we lose to the Falcons and I'll say the same thing. We got to replace Dennis Allen. We got to replace Pete Carmichael. These coaches couldn't coach last year. These coaches couldn't coach this year. The experiment has failed. The experiment is over. The host body didn't take. However you want to say it. Dingus 1 and Dingus 2 have tried as hard as they can to ruin this franchise. And hopefully Mickey Loomis won't let them continue this charade any longer.
This current coaching staff did not prepare this team for a game in prime time that meant everything to the team. And they didn't prepare themselves to call an effective game. And then after pulling within striking distance at 30-22 and, giving us a little bit of hope, dangling a little hope in front of us.
The onside kick.
The diehard fans, that is. They call a head-scratcher of an onside kick with 3 minutes left and a 2-minute warning timeout, and then the defense cannot even get a stop, and they had a stop, except the guy forgot that you have to tackle. The abject misuse of Alvin Kamara and the lack of use of Taysom Hill.
Yes.
Going forward needlessly on fourth down, and the inability of players to answer the big moments.
Yes.
Just has created a very, very disgruntled fan base, and I hope, Bobby, that when Mickey Loomis is on the show, because I guess Dennis Allen's sleeping off the Christmas hangover, guys like me, Longshoreman, Grant, the Super Dames, Big Henry,
Big John, I'll give him this, is a bit of a poet. This is a fantastic, y'all know me. I'm not afraid to press pause and interject and sprinkle in my own soliloquies, but Big John's really kind of speaking from the heart. At one point, I thought he was going to give me a shout out because he's saying a lot of the same things we say here, and I'm sure Big John's a listener, like the rest of New Orleans, tuning in on a daily basis to the best and fastest rising channel in sports media, this channel right here. But Big John's right. It's kind of sad to see, honestly. It's kind of sad to see what Dennis Allen has made this franchise. The scheme, the coaching, the game plan, all that stuff, it's one thing. It will be changed, whatever. He just doesn't know what he's doing. The part that really keeps me up at night is what he's done to this culture. This was a team that loved the city. True? True. This was a team that fed off of the city. True? True. And what did Dennis Allen do? He turned the team against the city. How many times did we hear Dennis Allen say the outside noise or the criticism from the outside or this, and this? He took what we had very dear, which was the relationship between the city and the fans, and he tried to twist it. Dennis Allen has tried to ruin the culture of this once proud franchise. He tried to ruin 15 years of culture that we enjoyed because of Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky if Mickey Loomis does the right thing and gets rid of Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael. We're lucky this only lasted 2 years. Think about how bad this would be if this was like a 6-7 year situation. Imagine what this franchise would turn into. If the prophecy is foretold and Mickey Loomis gets rid of Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen, and we can get the right guy in here, and we can get back to winning ways, we will have dodged a huge bullet that has only lasted 2 years.
We're always going to follow the Saints. We've committed ourselves thick and thin. But, not everyone who goes is going to continue to follow if the current situation continues. And if you start seeing a disgruntled fan base, that affects ticket sales. That affects merchandising. That's getting away from what Sean Payton had established in his 16 years here.
Well, Big John, it's not PE class. You can't just have a product out there that's competitive. You got to give the fans hope. And how you give the fans...
I'm not sure what that meant. We aren't competitive. That's part of the problem. We aren't competitive. We aren't showing any fight. We aren't showing anything. In prime time, what have we done? Thanksgiving weekend, we laid one of the biggest eggs in Atlanta. Prime time, season on the line, Thursday Night Football, standalone game, Los Angeles Rams in SoFi. What did we do? Laid one of the biggest eggs. Jacksonville Jaguars, Thursday Night Football. What did we do? Lose. LOL. The team is a bunch of losers. The coaches are a bunch of losers. The fans are disgruntled. I don't really buy into the whole, like, ticket sales will go down and merchandise will go down and all this other stuff. Fans are fans. They will go to the game. They're obviously not going to go to the game as much if you aren't winning, but I don't think this is a financial stress situation on the Saints. I don't think the Saints are going to be impacted via their bottom line. I got Saints merchandise for this Christmas. Open them up. Jolly Saint Nick. I'm talking about Santa Claus, not the great Nick Underhill. Left a couple Saints merchandise presents under my tree. And every time I opened one, whoever was around me, they all said the same thing. They were like, oh, you must not have been good this year to get Saints merchandise. Or, well, you can't wear that this year. So many jokes, so many yuck, so many 5-minute sets every time I open up a piece of Saints gear. Same way for the Pelicans. The Saints have become, and the Pelicans, currently are laughingstocks. They are. People laugh at Zion. People laugh at his tattoo. People laugh at the Pelicans. People laugh at the Saints. People laugh at Derek Carr. You know, we're right now, we're worse than irrelevant. We're worse than competitive.
Is playing in the postseason. Now, once you're in the postseason, anything can happen, even if you're a wild card team. And you might look the parity in the league. I mean, who's going to be in that final number to be in the postseason? But the Saints had a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Even though they've been up and down, but when it comes time to put up or shut up, they've shut up. I mean, they've not been able to do anything. And then when you look at it right now, Big John, how do you view this? Because I think either you're a championship team or you're trending in that direction or you're in the bottom of the league where you have no chance, and then a number of organizations would blow things up. But we like in limbo. We're like
caught in purgatory.
Yes,
Football
we're not good enough, but we're not bad enough. So we just hovering around like an 8-9, 9-8 season. And to me,
Bobby left out one type of whatever you want to. We're on the downslope. All right, we teams, as he kind of described the architect or the archetypes of teams. You have your championship teams, you have your teams trending up, you have your teams trending down, and then you have your bottom feeder teams. All right. For example, the Panthers are a bottom feeding team. They're not trending up. They certainly are not a championship team, and they aren't trending down because they've already been down. They've already been at the rock bottom, right? So they're at the bottom. Houston is trending up. Houston is not a championship team. Houston is not trending down, and Houston's not a rock bottom. They're trending up because of their young players, young coach, right? Let's do an exercise. What do y'all think the Jets are? Anybody? The Jets are trending down, okay? Why? Because they got Aaron Rodgers. They had all this hype. They finished out relatively okay last year. They had some hype and some whatever else. Rodgers gets hurt. Rodgers gets older. Their defense isn't as good. They take a step backwards. Coaches are awful. They're trending down, okay? The Saints. Anybody? The Saints are trending down. That's right. They were up with Drew Brees and a couple playoff appearances, Sean Payton, whatever. Last year, they're trending down. This year, they're continuing to trend down. Right? That's where we're at. We are a franchise that is trending down because of a multitude of factors. Those factors are aging players who aren't playing at the level that they once were. Happen all over the place. Bad contracts, salary issues. Now, we know that's not that big of a deal, but it is what it is, right? You can't keep players who aren't performing as well, who are aging out on big contracts. Happens, right? That includes our quarterback. Derek Carr, older quarterback. We can assume Derek Carr only probably has 3-ish, 4-ish years left of even being a starter in the NFL because of his age. Okay, he's 33 right now. 37? 38? Will he be a starter? I don't know. So he's trending down. All right, all of our players really are in that bucket of either big contract, aging player, loss of production, injuries. Ryan Ramczak's 29 years old, but he's got a degenerative knee issue. He's more than likely, we could see him retire this year. On top of that, our coaches, garbage. They'll be fired, hopefully in about 2 weeks' time. So we'll need a new coaching staff. We're a team that's in a transitionary period. We failed the first step of the transition, which is bringing in the heir apparent, the replacement of Sean Payton and Drew Brees. We failed that. Thus, we're on the downslope. Now, we can do one of two things. We can either continue on the downslope until we eventually get to rock bottom or the bottom tier of the NFL, in which we'll get a big draft pick, and hopefully that draft pick will propel us to trending upwards like the Bengals did. Okay? But hopefully we don't get to rock bottom. Hopefully Loomis fixes it. Hopefully we get the right coach in there. We get the right staff in there. Carr figures it out for the last year of his contract. And we can kind of maintain, stay. We don't hit rock bottom. And then we can start drafting smart, building pieces up. It's the same with the Rams. The Rams win their Super Bowl. Then what happens? They trend down. Injuries, trades, whatever else. They start trending down. They could have hit rock bottom. A lot of people thought they'd win 5 games this year. They drafted smart. Their players got healthy. They have a great head coach. Now what are the Rams doing? They were trending down. They stagnated. Now they're trending back up. All right? So just because the Saints are in a downslope right now doesn't mean we have to tank. Doesn't mean we have to lose out to be good again. We just have to draft smart, get talented players, bring talented players in here instead of filling the roster with D-plus players.
To me, now, we won 7 games last year.
I mean, had 7 this year.
And then, so what if they beat, to me, if they beat Tampa Bay and Atlanta, and you're not in the postseason, that's not good enough, considering the strength of schedule.
It's not good enough.
What's your take on that?
My take is this, Bobby. This team has the talent, the physical talent, the skill players, the trench players even to a certain degree, to be trending toward the playoffs and maybe a championship. It does not have the coaching staff for that.
I disagree with that. So I wildly overestimated the ability of the roster. We certainly don't have the trench players to compete for a championship. I don't care who the coach is. You're not making that offensive line a top-tier offensive line. You're not making that defensive line a top-tier defensive line. You're not all of a sudden creating pass rush out of nowhere. You're not all of a sudden being able to run the football. The Saints have been absolutely abysmal running the football. You're not all of a sudden doing these things. Okay, so we would definitely be better with a competent coaching staff. But I don't think this roster, the ceiling of this roster is not truly competing for a championship. With how easy the schedule was, the talent of this roster probably should have squeezed out 10, 11 wins and been kind of a fugazi division-winning champion or division champion in the playoffs and probably get rolled in the playoffs a la Minnesota last year, something like that. So that's what I think the ceiling was. I did look really watching the players, really watching the level of play. I think it's a bit of a stretch to say this team roster-wise could have competed for a title.
It has been proven over and over again, starting with last year's Tampa game, and moving forward through this year, that this coaching staff does not have the ability to bring this team to the playoffs and to the championship. I mean, the schedule alone was set up for us in such a way that we...
Not just the schedule, Big John. Sorry to cut you off. Not just the schedule, but even some breaks along the way. Minnesota, we get them without Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. We get them with Josh Dobbs. We make Josh Dobbs look like Cam Newton. Guess what Josh Dobbs is doing? Updating his LinkedIn profile to try and find a job. He might be selling insurance pretty soon. Josh Dobbs isn't even on the active roster anymore. I had people in my comment section telling me that I was a fool because I said Josh Dobbs was garbage. And they thought Josh Dobbs was a franchise quarterback. Hey, spoiler alert, I was right. He's garbage. Bears. I know we beat the Bears, but the Bears, we didn't get them with Justin Fields. We got them with Tyson Bagent. The Titans. I know we beat the Titans. We got them with Ryan Tannehill, who's not even playing. They benched him. All right? So even as easy of a schedule as we had it, we got fortunate with the schedule. And we still couldn't do anything with it.
We could have won 10 games, and I saw the schedule, and I was thinking
10 if
10
not
games.
at least 10 if not 11, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're good enough in the trenches.
Think about how bad. Who is screaming? Is this Mike Detillier? Just where are they at? Walk-ons? Were they at Manning's? Who are they? Are they at the Cajun Kitchen? Let's relax, guys. Think about the Giants. We get Tommy DeVito. I know we beat the Giants, but we don't even get them with their starting quarterback, right? Or their backup. The schedule, think about how bad we've been, right? If we don't blow the Packers game, as bad as we've been, we still could win 10 games. That's how easy this schedule was. And even, all the losses, all the bad performances, all of this, all of that, if we don't completely collapse against Green Bay, we got 2 games left, we went out, we win 10 games. That's how easy the schedule was. It was almost when I placed that over 9.5 regular season wins bet, I thought we can luck our way. We can, screw around and still find a way to win 10 games. I never in my wildest dreams thought this is what would happen.
And Derek Carr has had his moments, but it's been few and far between. But again, when you get beat up front, and look at that Rams game. Did the Rams come in with the reputation of being a real physical team? No. Look how they won that game. Now Stafford was terrific, but
how they won that game, how the Rams won that game. Are you kidding me? They won that game with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford doing whatever they wanted. They didn't win the game up front. They didn't win the game in the trenches. I love how the older generation, they always go back to the same thing. We lost the battle up front. We lost the battle in the trenches. We couldn't run the football. It's always the same thing. We lost that game because of Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, and Sean McVay did whatever they wanted. And then on the flip side, we were 1-8 in our first 8 possessions. We got the ball within Rams territory. First 2 possessions, 0 points. Okay. We gifted them a touchdown at the end of the first half and then kneeled the ball out. We onside kicked it down 8 with 4 minutes left. Okay. It wasn't in the trenches. It was the fact that they did whatever they wanted to do. We couldn't do anything, and boneheaded decisions from our coaching staff.
And they won in the trenches.
Well,
their offensive line, defensive line.
They could run the ball, and we couldn't stop the run.
That's true. Exactly right.
The question that
what I just said, it's always the trenches and the running game. That's the old school mentality. It's always one of those two things. It's always, well, we lost the battle in the trenches, we lost the line of scrimmage, or we couldn't stop the run, or we couldn't run. It's always the same thing. LOL. That's funny.
Mickey Loomis has to answer is, do we want to continue the standard that we had set under Sean Payton? Look, Sean Payton's gone, and I know we'll never get him back. I get that. But we set a standard there. Yeah. And so will Dennis, Mickey Loomis needs to answer the question, will Dennis Allen bring us back to that standard? Nothing I've seen in the last 2 years
Absolutely not.
will even indicate that we're back to that standard where we're winning 10 or more games per year.
Well, the bottom line is, Big John, it's a production business.
Gotta win.
I mean, you could be a great individual, a nice person, a good family man, but it doesn't matter.
Who cares? If he's a good person, if he's a good family man, if he takes care of the dogs, if he's a hell of a cook, run for city councilman. Join a charity organization. Work for the Loaves of Fishes. Join the Salvation Army. I don't care. I'm not questioning how good of a person he is. I'm not questioning what he's like as a friend or how he is in this community. I don't care. I care about that you've ruined this culture. I care about that we can't score on offense. I care about that we are getting outcoached literally every game. I care that we are sub 500 with the easiest schedule of all time. I'm not concerned about what this guy can do at a dinner party. I'm not concerned about how if he's building ramps for people in his community or whatever. It's just who cares about that?
Being if you win and nobody likes you, that's what counts. What's the bottom line? You got to win. Now, you'd want an upstanding citizen that wins football games. It doesn't matter what the position. Now, you could be a player. He's not really good with the public, but he's not getting arrested. But we're winning games. And if you win games, I'm telling you, you kind of look away and that we're producing a winning product on the field. That's the bottom.
You don't even look away. No one cares. Like, does anybody think Sean Payton was a good guy? No one knows one way or the other. No one's concerned about that because you're winning. You're doing your job. It's the same at work. Like, if I'm doing my job at work, what do they care about how I am anywhere else? What I'm doing with my free time? Do your job. Dennis Allen's job is to win football games. He has failed at that at every level. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Go down in the comments below. I will see you in the next video.